They hinted they needed help, and I gave it again and again and again until I was completely drained, and they still wanted more. If you've ever confused a vague comment as a cry for help or taken someone else's problems because they couldn't handle it themselves, then this episode is for you. Hey, what's going on? My name is Coach Lee Hopkins. My pronouns are he, him, his, and you're listening to the Patterns of Possibility podcast, the podcast for late diagnosed autistic adults who want real relationships without fake masks. Let's talk connection, clarity, and showing up as your authentic self. Now, this episode is one about one of the most painful dynamics I've ever had to unlearn: overgiving on hints instead of actual requests. So if you've ever found yourself helping someone who never really asked and then resenting them, or maybe being upset with yourself, then this episode might give you the clarity you need to stop that cycle. So let's walk through it. What happens? When someone says something vague like, oh, it's been such a rough week, or I'm having such a bad day, or I just can't believe things are like this, I'm so sad. It might sound like a bid for support, like something in your brain thinks, oh, I need to help them. But it's not the same as asking for help. And it's really important that you notice the difference, right? They didn't directly say to you that they want you to support them in some way because they're having such a rough week or a bad day or they feel so sad. When you just jump into action, you really risk misreading the situation and wasting your energy on vague signals that might not even be genuine. So you want to make sure that you conserve your energy instead of just jumping right in. Now, you might have been raised like I have and been really rewarded for doing helpful things. And so you just kind of snap into the I'm going to help. But that doesn't help in the long run. It doesn't help you because you've spent your time and energy, first of all, trying to decipher what kind of help and support they might need, and then putting your more energy into doing the actual thing to help them that might not even be helpful for them, right? And you feel resentful. You're mad. You're frustrated. They don't even seem grateful. They don't know how much you went out of your way. Well, they didn't ask you to do that. At least not directly, right? You made that assumption. So you want to pay attention to what's happening with you when you hear those cues. When someone's suffering or they're not feeling well or things are bad for them at the moment. Did they ask you to do anything? So this brings me to my next point. You have to require people to speak their needs out loud. You have to say it. And I know this gets us autistic people in trouble. It gets us in trouble because we want people to say things to us directly and plainly. And instead of hinting at it like, oh, looks like there's no more milk in a refrigerator. And they look at you. Looks like the trash needs to be taken out when they look at you. I'm just going to ignore that. Can you say it to me directly? Can you say it to me directly? That gets us in trouble when we want people to say it to us directly. So when it comes to these uncomfortable feelings or situations like this, oh, it's been a rough week, such a rough week, you might just not want to try to see if they need something directly from you and just jump into it for those kind of situations. But I want you to apply this rule. If they didn't ask you directly, then don't do it. You need people to speak their needs out loud. Make this your internal rule. I only respond to what's clearly asked of me. I only respond to what's clearly asked of me. And we want to make sure we place it firmly around this idea of helping someone who did not ask for it. This boundary is going to protect you in your emotional resources so that you're not going to try to fix a problem with tools that you don't have and a problem that is not a real problem. They have to tell you. It just makes it so much easier. And it also puts the responsibility back where it belongs onto the person to know what they need and say it out loud, right? So another thing I want you to note about how important it is to hold your boundary when it comes to doing things for people without them asking you directly. It's that some people use this ambiguity to manipulate you. They frown and they hum and they ha and they, oh man, I just wish I had somebody to help me. And they look at you. I just wish somebody would do something. I'm so sad. It's such a bad day. And they look at you. They won't ask you directly, but they'll accept you if you do it. And when you're completely drained, running around trying to help and support them in ways that they didn't explicitly ask for, they'll act like it's your idea that you gave so much. They'll act like, hey, you wanted to do this for me. I didn't ask you. You're just a good friend, you know? And this keeps you trapped in a cycle of guilt and exhaustion while they maintain plausible deniability. I didn't ask you to do that. You did it. I didn't ask you to drive me to the airport at 4 o'clock in the morning. I just said that I needed a ride to the airport, and you jumped up on it. And you'd be like, but you look so sad. Yeah, I know, and that what makes you such a great friend. That's what makes you such a good person. That's why I can always rely on you. And then you start feeling this guilt. Like, man, I guess I did want to help my friend. But this is not going to help your relationships. And this brings me to another point. Overgiving trains people to keep taking. If you give and you give and you give and you give, and you give and you give and you give and you give, then people are going to expect you to keep giving and giving and giving. Now, you think that you're being helpful, and you might be. You might be helpful. They really might get them out of the jam when you're giving somebody $20 when all you have is 30, and that's all they need. They need $20 from you, and you're like, wow, man, I only have 10 for myself, but I want to make sure that I show up as a good person. I want to be helpful. I appreciate them, and all the stuff that runs through your head that keeps you doing things for people that they just take. And they're always going to see you as a person who will give your last dollar, who will give your last bit of time, last bit of energy, and they're going to be completely confused and frustrated and angry when you start setting these boundaries. And then you, on the other hand, are like, dang, don't you see I only have $1? All I got is $10 left. I don't have anything for myself. Why do you keep asking? Well, because you keep giving. You keep giving. What do you mean? That's what you're here for. That's what you do. That's all I've ever known. You're training them to think that about you. So without boundaries, people assume the well of you, the well of energy that you have is absolutely bottomless. But you end up being burned out and bitter, resentful. Ooh, they never think about me. Well, they've never had to. They've never had to. Most people think that they're bad at relationships. But the truth is that they've never been taught how to connect without losing themselves. I'm Coach Lee, and I built the Connection Lab to fix that. It's a 12-week small group coaching experience for people who are done masking, overgiving, and guessing what others want. You'll get real practice, clear tools, and weekly support in a group of just 4 people. How dope is that? We start July 30th. So if you're ready to build real relationships without burning out, go to patternsofpossibility.com/connectionlab to learn more. That's patternsofpossibility.com/connectionlab. So there are so many things that come with you not being able to set boundaries for yourself and interpret what other people's needs and desires are. Clarity comes really from having a conversation, from saying explicitly, this is what I can do for you to help, and mean it, not at your own detriment. You don't do anything that's going to drain you, that's going to harm you. And if they ask for something that is too much for you, if you have that conversation, they open their mouth and they say, hey, this is what I need you to do. I need you to loan me $20. Well, I only got 30 and I'm not going to do that. Or I can't do that. Whatever sounds good to you, but hold that boundary. You'll have a better relationship because then you won't be upset about feeling like they've taken advantage of you, as long as they respect that boundary where you said no. then we have a whole different problem. And that's another episode to talk about. So let me know if you want to hear more about that. But I want to say that if you keep overgiving, people are going to keep taking. And if you feel bad about setting boundaries, people are just going to take. And you're going to be more upset that they're taking and not paying attention to you, but they've never been trained to do that. So you've got to train them to do that. Another point that I wanted to make about boundaries and helping without clarity, like if somebody comes in and maybe they're not clear about how much money they need from you or what exactly the ask is, but you just kind of sense it. Maybe you call yourself being very, very empathetic and you want to help your friend. I got it. It's good to be empathetic, I think. It's good to connect with other people and want to remove the suffering from the world. But most people don't say what they need. From my own personal experience, they don't say what they need because they don't know exactly what it is that they need. You just think about this. It's like, you're talking to your friend and you guys are both hungry and you want to go get something to eat. And you're like, I can eat anything. And you're like, well, friend, what do you want to eat? Yeah, you go ahead and pick. And so you pick. You're like, well, let me get some sushi. Let's go get sushi. And I'm like, nah, I don't want that. No, something else. But I can go for anything. How about pizza then? No, I don't want pizza either. Yeah, I think I should just cut down on that. Okay. And then you're like, okay, well, how about we just, I don't know, go to Applebee's? How about that? And they're like, no, Applebee's is, that's not for me. And over here, you're getting frustrated because you're trying to meet their needs. They said that they wanted something. They indicated to you that they're hungry. And they've got infinite options out there, and you're using your time and you're using your resources, your thoughts. You're trying to rack your brain to figure out a decision or figure out what to eat, and they don't want any of it. You could go on and on and on. There's so many different kinds of cuisines and restaurants, and they could just keep saying no. Now imagine taking that time and energy and putting it into going places to pick up things for them because they said, hey, I'm sick. And you just kind of run to CVS and you go pick up aspirin. You come back and, well, they don't need aspirin. They actually need sinus medicine. Well, you didn't clarify what was going to be gotten. You have to talk to them and get exactly what it is that they need. But if they can't tell you, this is the key, real. If they can't tell you what it is that they need, it's going to be a fruitless effort. You're going to find yourself running around all over the place, running yourself ragged, trying to figure out what it is that they need when they don't even know. It would just be so much simpler if they could tell you, I need a 12-pack of Sudafed, and they have it at CVS. They know exactly what it is that they need. They know where to go to get it. And you can decide whether or not you feel up to it or you're capable of doing that thing to meet their needs. That's how real, honest connection works. And it really only works if both people, one, know their needs, two, are able to express their needs in a clear, concise, and kind manner, and three, are willing to be able to talk about it. You're willing to be able to say no, or I can do that. You're willing to be able to talk to the points, hold your ground, say what it is that you need in a clear, concise manner, and hold your ground if you can't do it for them. And the other person has to be able to reciprocate or be receptive, really, of what you share with them. That's how real connection works. But remember, many people don't know what they need. And it will be to your detriment if you tried to figure it out by going out into the world and doing acts of service that they didn't ask for. Are you struggling to reach out without feeling awkward? Then I have a very, very special gift for you. It's called the 333 method, an easy way to reconnect without awkwardness. If you ever feel unsure about what to say, when to say it, or if it's too late to reach out, this will help. It's simple, it's clear, and it's made for people who overthink connection. There's no email required. Just grab it for free at patternsofpossibility.com. Click on resources and get your copy. If this episode resonated with you, the best way to support the podcast is to rate and review it. Your words will help other late diagnosed autistic adults find this space to know that they're not alone. Just a few seconds from you can open up the door for someone else to feel seen. Hey, I appreciate you, and thanks for being here.